Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to my 5 biggest USA culture shocks, Spanish perspective. I always find these pretty interesting to see, I guess, people from around Europe and around the world's culture shocks when going to the US. And yeah, I mean, we're just going to jump into this and see what things shocked her when she either moved to the US or went on holiday to the US. Either or, we're going to see, and yeah, hopefully going to enjoy. Let's jump into this.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel.
She sounds American. Okay, I'm very confused.
So today I am going to be making a video that is really fun, but before I start, you guys probably read the title and then you probably heard my accent, and if you don't know about my background from other videos, then you're probably wondering why I'm making a video about culture shock in the US when I have an American accent. So basically, my mom is American and I was born in the US. However, my dad is Spanish, and so when I was 2 months old, we moved to Spain, and I lived in Spain my entire life. I went to school there, I went to university there, and then about 2.5 years ago, I moved to the US to do my master's and to work. That brings us to today, and after 2.5 years in the US, there are a lot of things that have shocked me. Some in a good way, some in a bad way, some in just a funny way. But regardless of that, I decided it would be fun to make a video about some of the things that surprised me. Quick disclaimer before I start telling you guys about my culture shock. This is my experience in Washington State, in Seattle specifically. And so I know that around the country there are many different mini cultures, I would call them. I lived in Utah for 4 months during an internship, and I felt like I could understand their culture a lot more than I can understand the Seattle culture, because I felt like Utah, I think because of the religion, they're more family oriented, which is a lot more similar to Spain. So yeah, I totally understand if somebody else did not have the same experiences that I did. This is my experience in Seattle, Washington. So without further ado, let's...
If I was to guess something that she's going to say, because I've done a few of these reactions before, but there's always differing opinions. It's probably going to be to do with like the portion sizes, because I guess with Spain, like Spain has great food, but I feel like the portion sizes there are probably quite small. Not even just to the US, but to a lot of places. So I'm going to guess it will be to do with portion sizes, one of the culture shocks, but we're going to see.
Let's get started. Okay, so culture shock number 1. What shocked me the most about the US was the fact that strangers talk to each other as if they've known each other for a long time. So, for example, the fact that at the supermarket, the cashier has to ask me about my day or about my weekend plans.
What the fuck? They has to ask you? Come on.
Or about my summer plans. Personally, I feel like that is extremely personal, and I don't...
Huh? What? Like, when you go to a shop, I don't really go, like when I go to shops, I don't really pay at a till, but when like some shops you have to pay at the till, there's no self-service option. If they just have a general conversation, I don't really see what the issue with that is. If anything, when I have experiences with people in shops, I'm just buying stuff, and they're genuinely nice, it makes me feel a bit happy, you know, and like vice versa. If you're nice to someone who's working there, maybe it makes them feel nice as well. Maybe they just want to chat. Damn. I mean, if they're asking for you, like, for your number and stuff, or they're asking for, like, how many kids do you have, or do you have a boyfriend, or just stuff that is genuinely personal, then fair enough. They're just asking you what you're up to.
Me about my day, or about my weekend plans, or about my summer plans. Personally, I feel like that is extremely personal, and I don't like to answer that type of question. I usually just keep my answer very brief and I don't tell them much, but I have been a witness to people in front of me responding to that question, Americans, and they tend to get very personal and start telling a lot of details about their life or their day, which I feel is just weird. And to be honest, what's funny about this culture shock is that I actually watched my mom throughout my whole childhood do this, and my sisters and I always felt really embarrassed about it. Like, she would just start talking to everybody as if she were friends with them, and I thought that that was her personality. And then I came to the US and I realized that there are a lot more people like that here that do the same thing, so I realized it's a culture thing. And so where do I think this comes from? I feel like in the US, relationships are less deep and less permanent than they are in Spain. In Spain, you have the same exact classmates throughout your entire years of middle school and high school. I think those are the names. Like basically, I don't know what the names are, but between the age of 6 and the age of 18, you have the same classmates. So just imagine
Really?
having the same classmates throughout your entire first 18 years.
That's mad.
They become family. Whereas in the US, children don't have the same classmates. Every class, they go somewhere else, they have different classmates, and
You're the same classmates for 12 years. Flippy, that's so weird to me. Like, in the UK, you have primary school, and then you have secondary school or high school. And it swaps. Like when you're, I think you're around 11 years old, going to 12 years old. You go to a new school, you make completely new friends. And that's part of the fun. But I guess that's just not how it is in Spain. I mean, I can't really argue against it.
so they mix a lot and they meet a lot of people. They learn to easily make new friends and easily open up to new people because they have to, because they know that they have to continue making new friends. So point number
I guess there's pros and cons to both, to be fair. But I don't think if a shopkeeper is asking you what you're up to on the weekend is that bad. Like when I say that bad, like that much of an issue. Because I know everyone's different. Some people just don't want to talk, and that's completely fair. But I feel like that happens in some places. When I went to Amsterdam, or even just whenever I go anywhere, I do find when I go to like actual shops, they're not very chatty. But maybe just because I'm English, they either don't really speak English or they just don't want to talk. So I've definitely noticed it more in like European countries that it is like that. But in England, I'd say it depends. I feel like it's probably not as often in the US, but you definitely have. But you have experiences where you have like chats, like small chats here and there with people like in shops or like serving you and stuff. So I guess Britain is sort of in between the US and Spain with that sort of in that sort of aspect.
culture shock number 2. In a way, this is kind of also related to number 1, but that is the fact that strangers give me opinions about my outfit. I mean, usually positive ones, right? But people have to tell me that they like my clothes or like my glasses. They just have to. They can't help it. It's just so funny. How many times I've been to Starbucks. This has happened like 3 or 4 times at Starbucks. Different Starbucks where people, like the person serving me, told me that they like my glasses. And then just the other day I went hiking and I was wearing this jacket that I really like. It's from Lita. And I had, again, 3 people compliment me on the jacket. And I can tell you that when I was in Spain, in my whole 21 years that I was living in Spain, not once in my life did I get a compliment on my clothes or on my anything about me from a stranger. Never. In Spain, we do compliment our friends. So it's all within the group of friends and family, but outside of that, you just don't talk to people. You just don't have any deep conversation, and you don't tell people that you like their clothes, or you don't ask them where they got their clothes. It's just completely unheard of. And that was something that really shocked me in the US.
I feel like the UK is probably a bit closer to Spain with that one. Again, it's probably from personal experiences. Maybe some people experience it. Maybe girls experience it more from guys or something. I don't know. But would I randomly compliment someone for their shoes? Probably not. But is that just a thing within the US, or is it just certain regions, or is it just certain people? I don't think it's like a general thing where Americans would just be like, "Hey, your shoes are really nice." Maybe it is, and then you're like, "Oh, where did you get them from?" Because if that's the case, then fair enough, man. It's just how it is. It's not like it's a bad thing. If it's a compliment, it's a compliment. If they're saying to you, "Oh, your jacket's grim. Why are you wearing that?" then that's a different story. But I don't think that would ever be the case.
So next point is 3, and this one is related to food. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are curious about the food.
But it's funny though. That's the first time I've really heard that. So I guess maybe that's just from person to person. The experience just changes. I guess it's not necessarily as common as the other one.
Differences, and I mean there are a lot of differences that I have noticed. But in the US, there are no fixed meal hours. So I feel like people eat whenever, people eat wherever, people eat however, like they'll stand, sit, work, whatever. They'll eat while they're doing something else, and they don't eat with people. Like a lot of times one thing that really surprised me was when I started work and people would eat while they were working. Like they wouldn't even take a break to eat. In contrast to that, let's for example talk about when I was living at my grandma's house. Lunch was ready at 2 p.m. sharp. And if lunch was going to be ready before that, my grandma would have to come and tell me and ask me if I was okay with eating lunch before. And if lunch was going to happen after that, she would come and apologize. And then my grandpa would go and sit in the kitchen while he was waiting for his food to kind of give my grandma pressure.
See, again, I think this is one of those things where it's just from person to person. Because in the US, I know, like especially for like events or holidays, the family sort of focus is huge. Whereas my experience in the UK, I don't think it's is the same for most people. With my family, when I grew up, we would not really eat anything together. We'd never eat eat at a table, other than maybe for Christmas. But usually for Christmas, we would go to our grandparents and stuff. But at my grandparents, we would eat breakfast together, lunch together, and dinner always together at like a dining table. But yeah, like in my family home, we never done that. So I think it's just different. It just changes from person to person. But I feel like maybe like in like places like Spain and Italy and I don't know, just countries near the Mediterranean in Europe, I feel like maybe just family culture is a lot more like tight-knitted, just in general, compared to like the UK. Maybe some parts of the US. Again, I think it just depends on where you are.
So yeah, lunch was at 2 p.m. sharp, and we all had to sit together. And if I was not going to be there for lunch, I had to let my.
I don't think I ever used to eat lunch. I would just eat breakfast, dinner, and then just snacks throughout the day when I was a kid. I don't think lunch was really a thing, other than for like school and stuff. But like days that I wasn't at school, I don't really think lunch was a thing.
I know beforehand. Another thing that was funny when I was in Spain was how at university, I knew that if I went to the canteen at 2 p.m. to eat, because by the way, if you haven't noticed by now, we eat lunch at 2 p.m. in Spain. If I went there at 2 p.m., there was a humongous line of people because everybody got there at 2 p.m. But if I got to the canteen at 1:30 to get my lunch, there was nobody and I could just be the first one. I kind of...
That's better though, just go a bit earlier. Why is 2 the set time? It just saves you time as well. If that's me, man, I'm going there like 30 minutes beforehand every time. Just getting my food quick. I cannot be asked waiting in a queue and maybe missing out on certain foods. You know what? That's not me.
Like the way that we do it in Spain, that's one of the things that I miss. I feel like in Spain, food is a time to spend time with your family and friends and to talk. And so yeah, so now moving to point number 4.
I feel like it's an in-between, because sometimes I like eating with people and like you just want to like have a get together and stuff. Sometimes I just want to eat food quick and just get it done with. For example, like a lot of the time I'll get food from the shop, eat it, and then just get home and not have any food. Like I'll just eat it on the way because I just want to eat the food. But then sometimes I want to eat out with people, so I think it's just one of those things that's quite flexible. Whereas I feel like if you've done that sort of thing in Spain, for example, if you ate food on the go, that's like a no. If you do that, that's like a sin to do, you know. So I guess maybe it's just how the cultures are. But I can do either. I like eating with people. I like eating on my own. I don't really mind. Like eating out with friends is always nice as well.
4. This one is about fashion. So first of all, let's start with the kids. So in Spain, parents tend to dress their kids in a very specific way, and I'll put some pictures around here on how people dress their kids.
Traditional.
And then also, parents tend to dress all of their kids the same. So say they have boys and girls, they will dress them with the same patterns, just different outfits. And like the girl will wear a dress, boy will wear pants. So what I saw in the US is that parents allow their kids to dress however they want. So a lot of times you'll see kids wearing tutus and princess dresses and dinosaur costumes and basically whatever they want.
Come on.
That is definitely not something that you see in Spain. In Spain, kids can wear whatever they want at home, but once they go out, they have to follow the rules. I understand that the US has a different type of mentality. I feel like in the US, people feel like being unique is important, and that is what is praised. And honestly, I really appreciate that, to be honest, because it allows all types of people to find a place in this country, versus in Spain where you have to fit into this specific cookie cutter like shape, and if you don't, people will question why you're different. So yeah, that I definitely appreciate that from the US, but it was hard for me at the beginning, and it still is hard for me because I would never let my kids dress however they want or do their hair however they want or any of that. One thing that shocked me a lot in the US was seeing people dress in gym clothes to go shop.
I hear this so many times. All the time I just hear about the going out in like pajama bottoms or gym clothes. I mean, to be fair, I mean, when I go out a lot of the time, I'll be wearing like shorts and a shirt, like a sports shirt. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. Trainers. That's obviously not to go out and do stuff. That's usually when I'm going to the gym. But I mean, even when I go out, usually I wouldn't say I wear sports clothes a lot, but sometimes I wear like shorts and stuff. I guess you can consider that sports clothes, like sports shorts or whatever. Like I'm wearing them right now, and I'm wearing a sports shirt right now. Actually, it's like, I mean, I know I'm at home; it's a bit different, but I wouldn't not go out like this as well. So I mean, I guess this is one of those things that it's just, it depends on the weather actually as well. I'm going to say that. It depends on the weather. If it's not hot outside, I'm not going to wear the shorts, you know.
Shopping, to go to university, to go wherever. Like they just wear their, not gym clothes, but their leggings, their gym leggings. They'll wear them everywhere. And I get that they're comfortable. And actually, to be honest, I've kind of been converted and I've done that many times as well. But it's something that you just don't do in Spain. Okay, last point, and this is probably one of the things that I like the most about the US. As much as I complain about some things about the culture and some things I'm just never gonna get used to, but this is something that I love, and that is the efficiency of systems. It's very difficult to deal with any type of organization system in Spain, especially when it's public. So like getting government documents renewed, getting any document from the university. A lot of times you'll wait in lines for a long time only to figure out that you're missing a certain document and that they refuse to go search it up in their system even though they have it in the system. In the US, on the other hand, everything is extremely efficient. And just the way things are set up, they're so efficient, they work so well. And I think the reason for this is the fact that Americans have this mindset of constantly wanting to be better. Every time something seems to not be working, every time something breaks, every time something bad happens, like say someone slips down the stairs, immediately everybody will start thinking about how could we have avoided this, and then something is actually done to make sure that doesn't happen again. I feel like that's just the reason why Americans are so ahead in a lot of ways from other countries, and that is because they are constantly questioning their system, trying to change it and make it better, and yeah. So that is...
That's the first time I've really heard something like that being said about like culture shock, so that's pretty cool to hear, but there we go. I mean, it's the Spanish perspective, so I always like sort of chime in and share my perspective. I know it's from her perspective, and that's valid. I mean, it is what it is. You can't really complain. People talk to strangers as if they know each other. Meanwhile, in New York, what's happening in New York? Yeah, New York and California, not too much, but small to mid-sized towns is more normal. I went to school with the same people from kindergarten through to high school. This is common in private Catholic schools because many are... Oh yeah, of course it is. If it's in a private school, of course it will be. I mean, I feel like because private schools, you're not going to get a massive group of people being going to them, so that makes sense. And the friendliness, openness... What the hell does this word? Gregarious? I have no idea what this word even is. Nature of Americans is probably our greatest attribute, that and our insistence and individuality, being unique and paving your own path. Despite living here for almost 15 years, there are still some things that surprise me about American habits and mannerisms. But there we go. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you're someone who's, I guess, moved to the US or been to the US or gone there for studies and stuff, let me know, I guess, what you think of this. And if you're someone from the US, I always like seeing the opinions of Americans in, I'm going to say in England or the UK. I know you could say Europe, but Europe is so different throughout. Like Scandinavia, the UK, you got like the Mediterranean countries, you've got Central Europe, you've got Eastern Europe. Like, there's just so many differences. Like, yeah, I mean, it just changes. You can't really say Europe as a whole, but yeah, if you've been to the UK, I guess let me know your culture shocks. I always like hearing that sort of stuff and seeing people's opinions. about how cold it is and how we deal with it and tolerate it, or how mild it is, should I say, how there's no sun. But yeah, hopefully enjoyed, and until next time, subscribe.